Welcome to Hope Talks, where we share inspiring stories of hope in Jesus Christ. Hope Talks is hosted by Pastor Margaret Michael and Grayson Willis. Join us for uplifting stories of triumph, faith, and the enduring power of Christ's love. Also, if you're in the listening area, tune into 1470 AM or 102.1 FM WBTX to listen to Hope Talks every Sunday at noon.
Welcome to today's broadcast of Hope Talks. I'm Grayson Willis.
And I'm Pastor Margaret Michael.
Thanks for tuning in, and today we're joined by Syndney Hayslett. Syndney, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
And Syndney's a returning guest to Hope Talks. And Pastor Margaret, if you would just like to do the introduction today.
Well, it would be my pleasure. So Syndney is the executive director of Stonehaven, a nonprofit here in the Valley. And you've been doing this work for how long?
Oh, my. I first started serving in the field in 2015, which is longer than I think in my head.
That's right. That's right. Wow.
Yeah.
That's just kind of hard to believe. So tell us, what is it that Stonehaven does?
Sure. The mission of Stonehaven is to walk with survivors of sexual exploitation in their journey of healing. And currently we do that through our drop-in services. So we have a program director that's at a few different locations throughout the week. One is here at the church. Yeah. We have drop-in services. Then we also are at First Presbyterian Church and at Open Doors one day a week, just offering services to survivors. So that's individualized case management and sort of helping women find access to resources in the community that they might not realize that were there to be able to help them. Just offering women safe space for support to come and share about what's going on in their life and see if there's anything we can do to help them.
Yeah. So tell us, you said you started in 2015, and I know that Stonehaven didn't start in 2015.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit, just for those, some people have heard your story, but some people haven't. So I don't want to leave anybody in the dark. So just tell us a little bit about how you came to have a heart for this.
Sure. Yeah. I first heard about trafficking as a young teenager. And it was sort of presented to me as there's a woman trapped in a cage in another country. And of course, immediately I thought, that's horrible. How did I not know this was happening? And immediately wanted to do something about it. And now I thought I was going to have to be a missionary somewhere in order to make a difference. And then I mentioned in 2015, that's when I did an internship at a residential program in Massachusetts. And when I walked through the doors, I was like, okay, these girls look like me and talk like me. And I realized this issue is happening in my very own community, and I can do something about it. And so that sort of started my journey of learning more about what it looks like and best practices for helping to restore women that are coming out of these trafficking situations. And so from there, I also worked at another long-term residential program in Tennessee, which sort of helped to birth the model of what Stonehaven hopes to be. So while we do the drop-in services now, our goal is to open that long-term residential treatment for women.
So what you hear a lot of times when you hear sex trafficking is you hear that people are getting rescued. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about, because you didn't say that. Mm-hmm. So just expound a little bit on that. What your heart is, I think you said it in your mission, but I just want to make sure that we talk about that.
Yeah. And I do love talking about this because you do see that word a lot, and this sort of mentality of like a savior coming in and, you know, air quotes, rescuing someone out of a situation. And for us, that is just not language that we use, because the women that we serve do not need rescuing. You know, they may be in a horrible, bad situation, but they're the ones that make the brave decision to leave, and they may need help coordinating efforts to get out of a bad situation. Right. But these women are so strong and tenacious, and rescue is not something that they need. And we never want to paint ourselves as a savior in a situation.
Right,
we're walking alongside women and providing tools and help, but we're not the ones that are doing any rescuing. They're making really hard decisions and doing really hard work every day. So they're the ones that are the hero of the story. It's not us.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think it just really flips the script a little bit of what you hear.
Sure.
So if we're not going to another country, I remember a conversation your dad had. He thought he might have to come rescue you, right?
Yeah. If you miss it, Margaret is my mom as well. I don't think we said that.
No, we did not. But so if it's not someone in another country, talk to us about who is it? Mm-hmm. Who is it? And what is the situation that they often find themselves in locally?
Yeah. And that's a good question. And it makes me think, the word rescue and other country, it makes me think of like the movie Taken, and that is people's like understanding. And that was definitely a rescue. He went in with his special set of skills or whatever. But here it's not like that. Actually, the number one way people are trafficked here is by a family member. Yeah. And that's about 45% of trafficking cases is familial trafficking. And then right after that, 40% of trafficking cases are by an intimate partner. And so a lot of times, most of the time, someone is being trafficked by someone that they know intimately and who has very close access to that person, knows their vulnerabilities, has had an opportunity to groom and coerce and lead them down this destructive path because the victim trusts them and believes that there is, love there in the relationship.
Yeah, and sadly, Syndney, you were talking about before we started recording that, 99.6% never, and that's sadly because this is the only thing they know, and like you said, people they trust, people that are close to them. I think about something that Sabrina from New Creation, she said she was talking in her hometown of Elkton, and after she talked, the girl came up and said, "Oh, I didn't even know it had a name."
Exactly. Yeah. And that it's 99.6% of victims never disclose their history. And that probably leads into, there's also a stat that only 1% of victims are ever identified. And it is because, one, they may not have the language or understand what's happening to them, especially if you think about someone that's in a familial trafficking situation. That starts really young and it becomes very normalized. And they're also trained to keep quiet about it. We don't tell family secrets. We don't let people know what's going on to us. And we've seen that to be true. A lot of women we serve have sought services in our community, whether it's, just basic medical care. They may have sought mental health treatment or even substance use treatment, but they've never talked about this complex trauma that's happened to them because they didn't really have language for it, or because, again, they were told it's a secret. It's not something that we share with people, and they don't even know how to talk about it. And sometimes women even think like, well, it's their fault that they were in that situation, unfortunately.
There's shame.
There's a lot of shame around it, and so they never talk about it, even though it's fueling all these other issues that are happening in their life. But because they haven't dealt with that root trauma, they just continue to play out these exploitive patterns, these like harmful patterns in their life. It's really, really unfortunate.
It's kind of like how many times you go around that mountain and fall in that same hole.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's just, they're in a pattern. They're kind of stuck in that. And for someone like you all to come along and say, wait a minute, this is not normal. So what happened to you shouldn't have happened, and begin to help them to reclaim their life and someone to actually, like you said, come and walk alongside them in a healing journey is really beautiful.
Yeah, to remind them that they're worthy of more than that, and there's hope for them. They don't have to keep replaying that same pattern. We can make new patterns, make new choices, and live a full and meaningful life. We don't have to keep doing this over and over.
Yeah.
So Syndney, we had you in, it's been a year or more now since we've had you on the podcast. So give us some updates on what's happening at Stonehaven.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm not sure exactly where we were last time, but we're very close to opening our residential this past year. And we went through this whole process with the county of getting our special use permit, and we're very excited to open. And then sort of at the last minute, due to things outside our control, the plan just fell through. And so we're really back to square one, which was really disheartening. But that was a few months ago now. And so our board has decided we're just going to continue fundraising, and we're going to continue to offer these drop-in services and hone in on those and reach as many women as we can, while also searching for the right property and making sure we have the funds we need to be sustainable when we are able to start that residential piece.
So when you talk about a residential piece, what is your dream residential piece?
How much time do you have? Yeah, so we're looking for either property or a home that has 4 to 5 bedrooms. We want to be able to have a couple acres sort of in the county, not too close to the city, but not too far out. There's a balance there of privacy versus ease of access for transportation and things like that. But we're just looking for a place that women can come and feel safe, first of all, but they can come and they can feel a peace. And that's just really important. I don't think I've talked about what the residential is yet, but basically the goal of the residential program is to open a place where women can come and stay for free for up to 2 years, and they'd be able to address that complex trauma that we talked about. And we would provide everything they need for up to 2 years. And that would include basic needs like food and shelter and, a safe place to sleep, a warm bed. A lot of the women we serve haven't had that safe night of sleep in a really long time. And so that's really crucial to just helping someone's overall well-being. But in addition to basic needs, also medical care, dental care, and then therapeutic things as well. So having a therapist on staff, offering group therapy and curriculums to help address those things like boundaries and safe people and healthy relationships and all of that stuff is so important to being able to address, like I said, that trauma, which we know trauma informs every part of a person, emotional, mental health, physical health, spiritual health. And so offering tools to be able to help them work through all those different pieces is so important. And so that's part of it. And then in addition, there will be life skills, helping them learn just basic things that you and I might take for granted, budgeting, household maintenance, and things like that. And then job skills, helping prepare them for the workforce, which we have a great partnership with New Creation we mentioned earlier. They are about to start a workforce development program for this very specific population. And so our clients will be able to utilize that so that they can earn a living wage and get some transferable skills and be able to go out and be independent in the workforce. And so all of those things are part of this, I've mentioned the residential program, and that's exactly it, that they can come and get the tools that they need to find healing and freedom and to move forward beyond the things that have happened to them.
Yeah. So, wow. I know all that, and it's still, I'm kind of, like, it just amazes me. Just the great opportunity this is. For the women that will come, and you already have people that you are serving.
So Syndney, if you mentioned your plan is to open up a residential home if y'all can find the property. So if somebody has a property that would meet the specifics of what you said your all's need is for Stonehaven, how would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah. That would be great, first of all. You can go, our website is stonehavenva.org. You can contact us there, email, carrier pigeon, any way you want to get in touch with me, I will receive it.
That's great, because you never know who's listening. And I know it would be great if it was 2 houses on a property, right? While we're asking that.
Yeah.
Because you do need a place for office space, and that needs to be different from the women's
their programming space, and it'd be great if we could find a setup like that.
Yeah. So anyway, just saying. So recently, you all went for a training. You and Michelle went to a training. Tell us about, like, I think it was to get, I don't even know, some type of licensure, or
it was a state level training that the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice puts on, and it's called SETS training, sexual exploitation treatment and training, basically. And yeah, it was really great. Michelle and I went, and it just gives an extra level of accreditation for service providers in the state to say they've done this training and know best practices and are qualified to provide services to survivors.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a really informative week.
Yeah, I'm sure. What are a few things that you've done recently that I know there's a couple of things that were just really encouraging to you? Because this isn't easy. I mean, I'm putting words in your mouth, but this is, it's hard work. I know that even fundraising and all of, I mean, it's just, it's so much more than just sitting with someone. But there's funds to raise. There's awareness in the community. Recently, there was you had an awareness meeting here at the church.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. And you've mentioned New Creation, but just that partnership that you all have with them. I think a lot of times if people hear Stonehaven and that this is the work they're doing, well, isn't that exactly what New Creation is doing? And so maybe share a little bit just about how you all do partner together. I know you've talked a little bit about it already.
Yeah, sure. So that's great. The partnership with New Creation has been amazing. Sabrina is one of the first people I ever talked to about trafficking and what is it and what do I do, back when I was a young teenager. And so we've stayed in touch all these years and now finally are actually getting to work together in the field, which is really fun. So just a distinction, New Creation does prevention education and they do job creation. So their prevention education, they're in a lot of the schools around here doing education around trafficking for students. And then they also do job creation with their shop, employing women here and around the globe and offering them a living wage for the products that they sell. So that's sort of their lane and the thing they do. And then Stonehaven does direct services with survivors. So New Creation doesn't do any of those direct services things that we offer. And it's a really great way that we do partner together and we do not overlap. If anyone wants prevention education, I am not doing that. I'll send them Sabrina's information. And so even with their expansion that they're doing, their new warehouse and coffee shop back behind the shop that they have, we will have office space there and be able to work together even better than we do already. And it's a really great picture of partnership and collaboration in a field where there can definitely be a scarcity mindset. But we've decided we're not doing that. There's enough for everybody to go around, and we do want to be able to showcase that to people. Yeah. So the lunch that we did here at the church a couple weeks ago was a great picture of that. Sabrina came and she did the education piece for everyone, and then I was able to come up and say, so Sabrina just presented us with a problem. Here's a solution that Stonehaven has and how we really want to fill this gap in our community. And I thought it was a really great way for us to share that with the community and just spread some awareness.
Yeah, that was really good, informative. It showed the partnership. So you all partner together here in the Valley. Tell us about other opportunities for women, like for a home in Virginia.
Yeah, that's a good question because there are not many resources in our state for this specific population. There are 3 long-term residential programs in Virginia, and one is in Richmond, and they only serve women in Richmond, so that doesn't work for the women we serve. And the other 2, we have tried, and usually there's a wait list at either of those two places. And so the need far outweighs the resources available. Even if you look locally at residential options for vulnerable women, there is not a lot in our area. So anytime we have somebody who wants to make a change in their life, we're looking outside of our area and sometimes even outside of the state because the resources are just so few and far between. And so that is definitely a way that we want to step in and be able to offer women locally options, because sometimes there's family involved, there's children involved. Women aren't willing to get too far from their kids for that amount of time. And so being able to have something here locally where we could work with them on their custody and all those different things. You know, there can be a variety of reasons why women don't want to leave the state, but that's usually the main one. So being able to offer that would be absolutely amazing. We had a woman yesterday who asked, is it open yet? I really need a place to go. Like, there are women waiting to get these kind of services, and they're just not available, unfortunately, anywhere. So if you have that property, let us know.
Well, or if you know, if this is something that's pulling at your heartstrings and you have the finances, I'm sure that would not be an issue either, right?
Yeah, of course. We take all kinds of donations.
And is your website also the best place for them to donate or contact you all about?
Yeah, that's definitely, everything is there. So
yeah. And it takes everybody doing what God's calling them to do.
Yeah, of course. And they're obviously, like, giving is a huge way that you can impact the work that we do. But there's a lot of other ways that we use volunteers as well. Prayer is huge for us. It is one of our founding principles that prayer changes things. And so we always invite people to pray with us for our mission, for the women we serve, for our staff, for provision just in the work as well. And then we also have, like, committees and a board, and we do events and fundraising. And if there's anything that you enjoy doing in that realm, we would love to connect with you on that. And then as well, when the residence is open, we'll need a lot of volunteers to do a lot more hands-on stuff. So that'll be coming as well.
If someone wants to keep up to date on what's happening, can they go on the website and sign up for your newsletter?
Yes, the newsletter is on the website. That's a great way to do it. Follow us on social media. We try to keep updates there.
Yeah, okay.
And you mentioned prayer being a foundation. What are some of the ways people can be in prayer for Stonehaven, the mission you all do, the people you serve?
Yeah, you can definitely pray for the women we currently serve. I said there are women just waiting, for help and hope. And so praying that the Lord would just meet them where they're at, even if they don't have exactly what they need, that he would provide a way for them, that he would provide that little spark of hope for them to keep moving forward. And they can pray for, our staff is small but mighty. It's myself and Michelle, and we basically do everything from direct services to fundraising to HR and all the things. So prayers for capacity, because this work is really hard. You know, when I say we, Michelle does almost all of the direct services, and that is a really hard role to play. And she has such a heart for it and does such a good job. But it is hard. And so just praying that, the Lord would protect her as she continues to walk alongside women that are going through incredibly hard situations. Yeah, and continued prayer for the board as well as we work on resource development and fundraising. That piece is a challenge, I think, for every nonprofit. So all those things would be amazing, and just that we would be able to find the right place at the right time and be able to move forward with that.
Can you, I know everything's confidential, names and etc., but could you maybe share a story or two just of how a woman's life has been impacted through Stonehaven?
Sure. I have one in particular that comes to mind. Really sweet single mom. She was living in sort of like halfway house situation for a while, working really, really hard, had a baby. And again, Michelle's doing all of this work, and she would know way more than I do. But I know Michelle worked with her on making sure she had what she needed for, a baby shower, maternity leave, helping her just get prepared for a baby coming. And, living in that kind of environment she was not excited about. We worked really hard with her to find housing. And she also was working with another local organization as well, trying to find her housing. But it's so hard to find any kind of affordable housing, especially if your rent history is not good or your criminal history is not good. There's just not a lot of people willing to take on that kind of risk. And so Michelle worked diligently trying to find something because she was ready to take that next step and be on her own. And eventually, I think she was with Bridge of Hope. Someone there was able to finally find a landlord that could work with her and found her own apartment. And she's working and really, really thriving, over 2 years of sobriety and doing really well. And because she had people that could come around and support her and help her get what she needed and feel like she has a community around her.
Yeah. It does take a village.
It does.
This is not ministry for the faint of heart. That is for sure. But it is amazing when people can get a glimmer of hope, what that can do and how they can really kick into action and life just begins to look different for them if they have that village around them. So grateful for the work.
It's really important.
So, Syndney, what else maybe that we haven't asked you already or that you haven't shared already would you like to share?
I think when you're talking about community being so important, it just made me think of that's another piece with the residential that is so important because, the house that we plan to have would be able to house 8 to 10 women. And that is women who all have this shared experience, who have been through the same thing. And being able to live in that tight-knit community together and share with each other, learn from each other, keep each other accountable, and also learn how to have healthy conflict.
How not to have healthy conflict.
How to have healthy boundaries and all that kind of stuff is really important and makes such a big difference when, women can just learn from each other and have this shared experience together. It's a really important piece of the residential as well.
Yeah, I'm sure that builds some bonds.
Yeah, and gives them, even after they leave, being able to stay in touch with one another and make sure that everyone's doing okay. I still am, friends with some of the women I served back in Tennessee, and just being able to follow their path and see how a lot of them are thriving, even if, some of them didn't finish the program all the way, or if they just got a little bit, or if they had a little bit of a roller coaster. There are so many women that, I'm friends with, and I'm able to see they're going and getting full-time jobs. They're having kids. They're truly, that program made such a difference for some of these women. And it's so fun to be able to follow them and see that.
Yeah. And it gives you hope for the people that you meet, that they will experience the same thing.
Yeah. And just, seeing that model and knowing that it works, and being able to bring it back here is really important to me because I've seen the difference it can make for women.
Yeah.
Right. And Syndney, maybe you've already answered this, but we call this program Hope Talks, and you mentioned this is difficult work. These women are coming out of difficult situations. So in all the hard stuff, all the difficulty, what is bringing you hope through Stonehaven and the ministry?
Well, I think specifically about these couple events we've had recently and just the people that come out to support. We had the Great Community Give in April, and we were able to raise $45,000 in one day, which was so wild. Amazing. Yeah. And I have the privilege of being able to see some of those names of the people that made gifts and just being able to see, oh, I know that person. Here's how I know that person. I don't know this person at all. How did they even hear about it? Being able to see the people that actually are coming alongside of us and saying, we believe in what you're doing brings me a lot of hope. So,
yeah.
Well, thank you, Syndney, for joining us today on Hope Talks. It's been great to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to today's broadcast of Hope Talks. I pray that as you've heard Pastor Margaret and I talk with Syndney Hayslett today about Stonehaven and their ministry, that it truly has been a half hour of hope for your life. May God bless.
Hope Talks is sponsored by Church of the Nazarene in Harrisonburg in partnership with Sunshine Ministries. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Your feedback helps us spread hope to even more listeners. Stay tuned for more uplifting stories in the next episode. Until then, keep the faith, share the love, and find joy in the hope that Jesus Christ brings.